A number of years ago, you published a video which has since become rather famous, giving advice to young men in their 20s. What this video seems to neglect is the idea that it is even permissible to be a young man in his 20s. These days, masculinity is a bad word. Masculinity is evil, it is toxic, it is violent.
The video doesn't lack that.
Perhaps the most memorable idea you put forward is clean your room as a metaphor of getting your life in order. How are we supposed to get our lives in order when we are told to not even be men in the first place?
Well, it's certainly, the fact that you're told not to be men in the first place actually doesn't interfere with your ability to clean up your room. It just demoralizes you. And well, that's not the same thing. Like, I'm not saying that the demoralization is not profound, because it is. I mean, a lot of things happen to boys and young men. I mean, first of all, boys are punished by the school system purely for being boys. Their play preferences are not taken into account. And so the school system, it's tilted against girls and boys in a terrible way, because it was instituted in the late 1800s to produce obedient workers and not sovereign citizens, let's say. And so it's hard on girls too, but it's even harder on boys, because boys tend to play very actively and frenetically, especially if they're assertive. And schools don't like that at all. And then if they escape from that, well, then the next accusation is something like all masculine ambition is nothing but a manifestation of the pathology of the patriarchy, and they get about four years of that. And if they escape from that unscathed, which they don't, and so that is demoralizing, but
Stop me there, and welcome to Make Reacts and Reviews, where we react and review to things on the internet, and we're returning with Dr. Jordan Peterson. He can be a very polarizing figure for some people. I agree with a lot of things he says. Sometimes I don't agree with his Twitter antics. This video is titled An Update Message for Young Men, and it was uploaded into Dr. Jordan Peterson's clips. When it was uploaded 5 days ago, it has 123,000 views. I like a couple of things he already said. He hit on this education system, which I mentioned in another video, I think with Bill Maher, when he was also talking about like why teachers are leaving in droves, and the educational system, that the students becoming really aggressive. And not only are they becoming aggressive, they're graduating pretty much illiterate. But I mentioned that the school systems and the culture of the school system, the way teachers teach, and again, the school system or the teachers are predominantly female. They teach in a way that caters to girls. They don't necessarily teach in a way that caters to boys, and because of that, boys are often punished for simply just kind of being young boys. And then they're drugged up and given Adderall and all these things, and are constantly told that their behavior and the way they are and who they are, the essence of who they are, is wrong and toxic and destroying the world and all these things. And yes, that is really demoralizing, and it's not that you should just like toss out the effects of demoralization, because demoralization is hitting every group there is. It's not just men, but you can't use that as your end all to be all excuse of not pushing forward through that. Just like feminism or fat positivity or the LGBTQ community, trans community, black community, for me, I can understand your plight, but I'm not going to enable you to become a victim because of that. You still got to push through. At the end of the day, it's just you got to be the one to put one foot front of the other. Hey guys, a quick little break. This video is sponsored to you by me in my merch shop. I came up with some new merch, and Christmas is right around the corner. Get yourself some cool swag that will help you start a conversation, and it also helps support this channel. Okay, back to your regular schedule program.
But it's always been the case that the hero, let's say, has been opposed by the serpent of the state and by the serpent itself. And the fact that demoralization on a large scale is actually occurring is no excuse for young men it provides no excuse for young men to fail to stand up for themselves. It actually instead it provides them with a temptation to abandon their responsibility by accepting the doctrine that everything they do that's ambitious is evil. And you say, well, that's beaten into their heads. It's like, not exactly. It's offered to them as a temptation. The problem with responsibility is that it's burdensome, it's heavy. It's the cross you have to bear, you could put it that way. And The temptation offered by the ideologues is that you can just assume that that's a manifestation of patriarchal power and the destructive force that tears the environment apart, and you can dispense with that and pursue your idiot hedonistic short-term whims, and many people fall for that. And it's appalling on the part of the state actors who perpetuate that doctrine, but it's equally appalling on the part of the young men that swallow it. Now, they still need guidance out of it, and you might say, well, you're so demoralized you can't get a toehold, and that's only because you lack humility. If you can't clean up your room, you can clean up half your sock drawer. And maybe that's where you have to start. I'm dead serious. I had lots of clients in my clinical practice who lived at home in their 30s. They were completely bloody useless, and they knew it. And cleaning up their room was a task they hadn't managed to undertake independently for 18 years. And so they weren't going to go and do it just because we talked about it for an hour in therapy. But you could scale the task back until you found some little thing that was somewhat of an improvement that they could and would do. And that's where they had to start. And so if you want to sort yourself out, get on your knees and find a task small enough that someone as useless as you can manage it, and start there.
All right, that's it, guys. That was Dr. Jordan Peterson. Yeah, I kind of agree with the entire clip there. I like when he said that the demoralization is something that should be talked about and tackled. However, demoralization can also just be used as an excuse, or it's a temptation to just give up and say whatever, right? Like, why should I be an upstanding man if I'm just going to be accused of having toxic masculinity? Why should I be a gentleman to women where they don't even appreciate it? Why should I work hard when people are just going to accuse me of having privilege of getting the position that I have, right? So why should I do this? Why should I do this if the world is just going to smack me back down? So I'd rather just give up and blame everybody else for my failures in life. All victim classes do this. Black people do this when they say, like, oh, what's the point of trying hard if the world is never going to want me to achieve? It doesn't matter if a man is wearing a hoodie or a suit, he's still going to be hunted by the police. We always have to do better than the white person next to us. So what's the point? If fat people do it, women do it, we all do it. This is sort of the victim class, and the world has, and media has, demoralized, again, multiple groups. Going back to the Black community, if they've been told over and over again that you are oppressed, that you are a victim, then they're tempted to use that as an excuse not to do better and become better human beings. I think it's just human nature. It's harder to fix yourself. It's harder to take accountability and responsibility for your life, and that's for the ups, downs, and the failures. That's for the achievements and all of it. It's harder to do that because it's easier just to go, it's their fault. It's women's fault, it's men's fault, it's the patriarchy, it's feminism, it's the government, it's the matrix. Everyone can do that. But again, I can understand your plight, but I'm never going to enable you to be a victim. Just not going to do it unless you personally was victimized. But then even if you're personally victimized, I'm not going to enable you to then use that for the rest of your life as an excuse not to do better. This is one of the reasons why the red pill community have started calling Peterson blue pilled, because unlike the red pill community, he says, oh, it's all women's fault. All the plights and all the failures of the world is because of modern day feminism, and then it's all their fault and there's nothing you can do about it. He's like, yeah, that happens. That's a problem. We should talk about it. But you can't use it as an excuse. Do better, clean your fucking room instead of poking your nose in everybody else's personal life and seeing what they're doing in their room. Worry about yourself. Anyway, I really enjoyed that. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. Please like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell to get the notifications when I do upload. All of that really does help with the algorithm, guys. Please donate. It helps keep me on this platform. And you guys have an amazing day. Bye.
Told not to be men in the first place actually doesn't interfere with your ability to clean up your room. It just demoralizes you. And well, that's not the same thing.